Hey there, guys. It's me, Sayla, and today I wanted to react to another funeral. This is story number 2, coming from They Kept Seeing a Dead Woman by MrBallen. So, this is the original video. They Kept Seeing a Dead Woman, and it's by MrBallen, who is a great storyteller. I've already liked this video, as you can see. Please like as well and go check out MrBallen if you don't know him. He's amazing and a great storyteller, and I love the way he tells stories. They are really well put together and really detailed, and they make you feel like you're there. So I'm going to react to him whilst you know, sorry, I'm getting distracted right now. I've been really interested inside of some cool stories, so I want to know what he's got going on. So let's see what's going on with this funeral. Why do you mean another funeral? Like, are you tired of all of these funerals or something?
One morning in August of 1987, a 57-year-old woman named Claudia Sessi walked down the aisle of a historic church in Lyon, France. In the back of the church, a musician was playing a very solemn hymn on a pipe organ, and right behind Claudia, 4 of her sons and nephews were carrying her husband's coffin. So Claudia's husband had died suddenly just a few days ago, and she still really couldn't believe he was gone. A part of her kept thinking that, like any day now, she was going to get a call from the morgue telling her there'd been a mistake and her husband had just been asleep this whole time. But as she took her seat in the front row and looked around at all the friends and the family that were gathered there wearing black and dabbing at their eyes with handkerchiefs, she finally began to accept the truth. Eventually, the organ music dies out and the church goes totally quiet, and the priest makes his way up to the pulpit to begin the funeral mass.
Yeah.
However, right as he began speaking, there was this sort of muffled sound that at first it was really hard to tell what it was, but it was loud enough that it stopped the priest from speaking. He stopped what he was doing and sort of looked around.
Okay.
And then people began to gasp in the church because the sound, this muffled sound, it was coming from inside the casket. And so Claudia, when she realized that, she shot up to her feet and she's staring at the casket,
he's
and everyone's like,
clearly
what's going
alive.
on? And then people began to scream because suddenly they realized what the sound was. It was a voice. And it was muffled because it was coming from inside the casket. And the voice, which was a man's voice, was saying, "Let me out of here." And so the priest, he's overlooking this scene of absolute chaos. He's seeing everybody screaming and running around. Nobody knows what to make of this. He's terrified. He's presided over hundreds of funerals before. He's never, ever heard of somebody waking up in the middle of their funeral. And he's looking over at Claudia, the widow, and at first she seems so happy, like scared, terrified, but happy like her husband is back, and she begins to run towards the coffin. But she only makes it a few steps before she grabs at her chest and she collapses to the ground. And this seemed to snap the priest out of his shocked daze here. And he ran down to Claudia, and other people were running over to Claudia, and the priest began yelling for someone to call an ambulance. And then he rushed over to the coffin, expecting to find that Claudia's husband was somehow still alive, and he was going to open it up and free him.
Yeah.
But when he opened up the coffin, the husband was obviously dead. There's no way he just yelled, "Let me out of here." Not possible. He was definitely dead. So at first, this was just like a terrifying scandal that was sort of localized. But after police investigated and figured out what actually happened inside of that church, this story blew up and ricocheted all around the world. Because truly, it is unbelievable what happened inside of the church on that day. It would turn out there was...
It's not like a speaker inside of the casket or anything, eh? Has to be something more precise than that.
It is unbelievable what happened inside of the church on that day. It would turn out there was a man in attendance that day at the funeral who was both one of Claudia's husband's friends, so he was there, grieving the loss of his friend, and he was also a ventriloquist, somebody who's able to throw their voice.
Oh.
And he thought it would cheer everyone up if he threw his voice and made it sound like the dead man, his buddy, was crying, "Let me out of here," from inside the coffin. It was meant to lighten the mood. But the prank worked so well that people thought it was real, and Claudia literally thought it was her husband coming back to life, and she was so overwhelmed as she ran to her husband that she had a heart attack and died.
Oh, I
Now,
knew
the
it.
friend, the ventriloquist, immediately took responsibility and felt horrible. He felt like he basically killed Claudia. But despite that, police never charged him with any crime because ventriloquism is not illegal.
Wild. That's wild. I'm gonna keep watching.
On the morning of March 18th, 1963, a 16-year-old girl named Eileen Welch was chatting with her friends outside of her high school in Yorkshire, England. It was a few minutes before first period, and there were dozens of other students milling around outside the school, waiting for the bell to ring. Eileen was holding an armful of books and telling her friends about what she had done over the weekend, when suddenly she began to scream.
Oh.
At that same exact moment, Eileen's friend, who had been standing with her just a moment ago,
Yeah.
watched as Eileen just began to rise into the air. There was nothing around her lifting her up. She just began inexplicably raising into the air, like 30 feet into the air, and she's screaming. And like this friend, she's looking up at her, and all around her, all the other students, they're looking up at Eileen, just being suspended in air by some phantom force. And Eileen, she's screaming, and then suddenly she comes careening down and slams into the ground so hard that everybody's just screaming like mad.
What?
And someone began running towards the school, yelling for someone to call an ambulance. Eileen was rushed to the hospital, clearly in agonizing pain with, multiple broken bones, severe internal injuries. And the first responders and the doctors at the hospital and the medical staff, they did everything they could to save her. But just 2 hours after...
Broski, what happened there? Sorry, I gotta move around a little bit. My leg hurts. But I'm wondering still, though. What happened there? She started rising off the ground, girl. Huh? Like a lightning bolt. Was she about to be struck by lightning or something? How's that making sense? I don't understand.
After she smashed into the ground from, falling from 30 feet in the air somehow, she died. When police went back to the school to begin their investigation into what happened, detectives literally could not believe the dozens of eyewitness accounts. The detectives questioned 37 students and teachers who were all outside that day that watched what happened to Eileen. And all of them told the same story. That Eileen, out of nowhere, just suddenly rose into the air like 30 feet, and she held up there for a second, and then came smashing down. Now, at first, the police just didn't believe the stories they were being told. They're thinking there's got to be more to this story. People don't just raise into the air and smash back down again. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, that doesn't
happen. But when all these accounts were the same, and they all had the same amount of conviction behind them, that these people, they saw this, the police realized, this is apparently what happened. And so they began to assume that the only way this could have happened is that this was some product of a bizarre weather phenomenon or something. Like a mini tornado, lifted her into the air or something.
I was like, something has to have happened. I was like, electricity. You know how electricity, so when lightning's about to strike, your hair, raises up a little bit. It's like, I was thinking maybe lightning was about to strike, so it rose her up instead of just hair, which that's kind of too much because I don't think it would do that, but I don't know.
So they actually brought in several meteorologists into this investigation, but the meteorologists concluded that what everyone claimed to have witnessed was basically scientifically impossible. Because in order for the wind to pick someone up the way they described Eileen being picked up, the winds would need to be blowing at least 110 miles per hour. And there were no winds of anywhere near that speed reported anywhere in England that morning. And even if there had been a sudden gust of wind that was able to lift Eileen up, the reason that still couldn't have happened the way it was described is Eileen was near other people in close proximity. There's no way that she would be the only one affected. Other people would have been blown into the sky, but nobody was. It was just Eileen. To this day, none of the 37 witnesses have changed their stories, and there has never been a scientific explanation for what happened to Eileen.
No, sir.
And so the cause of her death, to this day, remains a mystery.
Wow. I actually thought he was about to bring it back and be like, it turns out this is why that. There's no reason? Dude. That actually might be the biggest mind blower ever, is that the fact that nobody even has been able to do anything about that. I mean, let's talk some science fiction type stuff here, right? Maybe her consciousness raised so high that her human form couldn't contain it anymore, and it rose off the ground. And she finally realized that she could actually fly, like literally fly. Until she came right back to her senses, and her senses, when they knocked back in, that's why she like flew down so fast, probably because she fell. She was like rose up, consciousness was super high, and then she's like, wait, what am I doing? Oh my gosh, like I'm up in the sky right now. This is freaky. And then that level of thinking is what knocked her right back down to the ground. I think it might have been something to do with her chi. Yeah. Maybe she had such positive energy just flowing through her, and her energy was just so strong that it rose her up or something. That's a guess. I'm very spiritual, so I'm into spiritualism and just all kinds of things. So I definitely have looked into those things, and I've seen them working for myself and some my day-to-day life. Uh, so I think that that's probably what happened. That's my weird guess. Tell me what your guess is, and if it's gonna be weird, tell me that why it's weird. Mine's weird because spiritualism. Yeah. All right. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was fun to react to. I like hearing these weird, interesting stories. They're always awesome to hear and be told inside of such a cool way, and to give me new insight into things that I probably would never even thought of existing before in my life. So, yeah. Watch this video for sure. And if you did like watching my video, then please leave a like, hit that bell, subscribe. They all really help me to grow, and I would like you to stay. So, yeah. I'm really bad at ending videos and starting them, obviously, you could tell. So, if you have any recommendations for me, I want you to leave those in the comments. I like music. I like videos, so YouTube videos. Recommend those. Recommend me shows, TV episodes. I don't care. I'm down to watch anything and react. I love it all. Yeah. So that's that. And then I would also like sorry. I would also like if you maybe I don't know. You could also share this video. Share with your friends and your grandfathers and your kids and their kids and all your kids, everybody's kids. All right. Oh, and your grandfather's grandfather, if he's still alive, and your grandma's grandma, if she's still alive, and your mom, and their mom, all the moms. Give them to everybody. All right. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, have a good day, have a good night, and goodbye.